For example, tobacco. Canadians spend billions of dollars on tobacco. The government's making a killing on it. It literally kills 40,000 Canadians every year, and they don't even grow it in Canada anymore. Our tobacco comes from Europe, much to my surprise, and it's not even real tobacco. It's kind of like paper with nicotine residue sprayed on it, along with everything else from benzene to sugar, you name it, is put in that tobacco, and it's sold here and heavily taxed, right? And it kills 40,000 people a year, and it's legal. Now, in fairness to that, at least it has a warning saying it will kill you. Because you look at alcohol. Alcohol is marketed everywhere. It's on our national sport every Saturday night. There's lots of ads for alcohol, Coors, the Silver Bullet, Jack Daniels. You can buy a bottle of Jack Daniels, 40 ounces, and its lethal dose is such that if you all drank it within 24 hours, if you drank that alcohol, that Jack Daniels for 24 hours, most of you would be dead. Most people cannot survive 40 ounces of Jack Daniels, which is 40% alcohol. Can't survive it. Would kill most people in the room. And you know what? There's not even a warning on that bottle that it will kill you, or could kill you. It's funny too, because if you look under your kitchen sink, you'll see a bottle of Drano, and it's got a skull and crossbones on it. And what I always wonder is, who the fuck is drinking Drano? Who needs that kind of warning? I've never seen anybody. And yet, you can buy a bottle of something that's designed to be put in your mouth, and it'll kill half the people in this room in 24 hours. Right? And there's not even a warning on it. And you know what? You know that Coors, the Silver Bullet? You look at those ads. You look at those ads that were being sold. Guys standing over here, a little homely, and 3 hot chicks over here, and they're not getting along, nothing's happening. What is the advertiser saying? Hit him with a silver bullet. And you shoot that silver bullet, and it goes over across the room, and it hits those women, and explodes suspiciously like a big pile of jizz all over them. And the next thing you know, they're all together, boogieing on it. You know what's going on. They're going to have sex. Maybe that wouldn't be so bad, but here's the thing I do know. Every single woman over 20 years old in this room, almost everyone has had really bad, regrettable sex with someone they really, really didn't want to have sex with, but they got so drunk, they made a very bad decision and possibly didn't even remember it the next day, and that's what happened. More people around the world are getting pregnant from drunkenness, unwanted pregnancies from drunkenness, than any other possible reason. More people have fights. Listen, and there isn't even a guy in this room over 20 who hasn't tried to get a woman drunk so he could have sex with her because she wasn't going to have sex with him normally. Alcohol is responsible for more carnage, more self-destruction, more bad behavior. You know it. You can walk in front of any bar, especially in this town. I should say especially in this town. But Saskatchewan people, I would say half the people I was in jail with had a drinking problem. Right? In Saskatchewan or Regina. A lot of Canadians have a drinking problem. But the thing is, if you go to any bar on any Friday or Saturday night, there's people lying face down, face up, in the gutter, by the curb, stumbling out of the way, couples having fights, people flirting with people they shouldn't have been fighting. Now they're loud and aggressive and getting into fights. People driving home drunk, getting accidents of cars. 12,000 people die every year in Canada from this toxification of alcohol. And then you add another 4,000 or 5,000 who died drunk on the road. And then you add more who go home and beat up their wife or beat up their kids. Alcohol destruction is everywhere and obvious. How many natives have ended up in jail by doing something wrong in this province because they smoked a joint? Not a one of them. But lots of people are in jail because they did something real regrettable on alcohol. Native and white people and everybody in between are always making horrible decisions and horrible mistakes on alcohol. But it's legal, and it's on TV, and it's advertised everywhere, and our Prime Minister is a drunk, and my Premier is a drunk, and it's all right with them. That's the example they want to set for everybody else. Being a drunk is okay. Being a drunk is real Canadian. That's what they're telling me. But none of that alcohol, except for a little bit of beer, actually even comes from Canada. Jack Daniels comes from the United States. Most everything comes from somewhere else. Wines are coming from Europe. Spirits are coming from the United States and Europe. Only a little bit of that beer is even made here. And look at the destruction it causes, but it's everywhere. It's socially acceptable, and nobody, I'll tell you this, the president of J.R. McDonald Tobacco is never going to be called to court to account for the 40,000 people he murders every year with his product. And the head of Jack Daniels, or even the head of Molson Breweries, who makes $1.7 million a year, are never going to get called to account in a courtroom for the 12,000 people they murdered directly by consuming their product. You don't even have to go there. You just look at prescription drugs. 27 million Americans and 1.5 million Canadians are on antidepressants. What the hell happened? Antidepressants didn't even exist 25 years ago. And now 27 million Americans have got some kind of problem that their doctor gave them antidepressants for. And what I do know is thousands and thousands of people commit suicide when they go on those drugs like Ritalin and Effexor and Zoloft, and thousands kill themselves when they get on it and get off it. It is a big cycle of destruction. You're giving the most vulnerable people who come to a doctor for help, and you give them something that makes them suicidal and kill themselves. You can't think of anything more evil than that. Nobody's got any time for people with problems anymore, so we give them a pill that could kill them. Thousands of people are dying all over. You know, the leading cause of death in our own hospitals is getting the wrong prescription drug at the wrong dosage, and that is the #1 killer. You check a new movie out called Generation RX. We're all drugged out, doped out, and nobody gives a fuck about a war that's been going on in Iraq and Afghanistan longer than World War II. It's because they're all drugged up. You haven't seen a single protest about those wars in Asia since Obama became president. I miss George Bush. Everybody hated George Bush. People were willing to get up and do something. Now that there's a chocolate Jesus in the White House, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck about anything. Black man's going to take all our problems away. No, he's not. He hasn't changed a fucking thing since he's been there. We've still got the war against our own people, the drug war, still got an expanding war in Iraq and Afghanistan. The man's got a worse economy than ever had. Hell, we've got a prime minister in this country who's an economist, and he's got us $50 billion in debt. That man can't even add up numbers, let alone that he's a drunk. Now, no pothead could go $50 billion in debt. You look at any pothead businessman like Richard Branson, the head of Virgin Atlantic, that guy smokes a big chonger every day, and he's one of the most smart, astute business person ever to walk on this planet. Plus, he's a really cool guy. He's going to take an airplane into space and start doing space exploration with people, and he floats balloons around the world. That's a pothead for you. Cutting edge, man. Setting new trails, blazing a trail. Not like these pussies who drink alcohol and don't get high, right? And so on it goes. Prescription drugs will kill you, and no doctor's going to be in court, right? Cigarettes will kill you, and the head of General Command doesn't have to call to account. The booze makers never get called to account. Hey, why stop there, okay? You can live in Walkerton, Ontario. 8 people died of government-approved tap water, and that guy got house arrest for killing 8 people. He got house arrest. House arrest. Nobody's responsible for fuck all. And you know what? Last year we had 12 people die because deli meats killed them, and the president of Maple Leaf Meats isn't going to jail for nothing. His product killed 8 people, or rather 12 people, and he's never going to pay. You know what? It used to be the leading, and all of these things are advertised. You can buy those deli meats. There's no warning on that deli meat. It doesn't say meat alone will kill most people over time because it's full of fats and things that are bad for you. Cholesterol, give you high blood pressure. Red meat got so many bad things from nitrites and what have you. But additionally, it'll kill you just on contact if you're one of those 12 people last year. And no one's going to be called accountable. In walking around, water killed people coming right out of the tap. Nobody's accountable. And the biggest leading cause of death used to be tobacco, but now it's obesity. A bag of sugar that costs you $5 is the most deadly thing you can buy on the shelf, and there's not even a warning on it. In fact, we give so much sugar to our kids starting at age 2 or 3 that by the time they die of something awful, no doubt, obesity or diabetes, we put 3 tons of that toxic sludge known as fructose sucrose right through our little pancreas. You know how big that pancreas is? It's like 5 inches long by about 2 inches wide and about a 1/4 inch thick. And we try and shove 6,000 pounds of fructose sucrose through that pancreas in our lifetime. You know, we have evolved for many tens of thousands of years, and no human being ever saw processed sugar before about 1830, 1840. Everybody lived just fine getting their sugars from fruits, or fruit juices, or gourds, or potatoes, or tapioca. That's all you need. You don't need extra sugar. And since then, we've now got to the point where the leading cause of death in Canada is obesity from sugar. And it's totally legal, and you can buy it cheap, and there's not a single warning on that bag that that sugar is the leading cause of death. You give your kids Snapple when they go to school, put it in their lunch. There's not a single warning on that Snapple that this drink is the leading cause of death in Canada. Nobody gives a fuck. And nobody's ever going to be responsible. Nobody from Snapple's ever going to go to court to account for all the people they've been poisoning, all those advertisements they bought that said it was okay.